What is going on, you beautiful bastards? I'm Brandon Sylvia. This is my YouTube channel. Consider subscribing if you are new. So we have a bunch of video game news to dive into today, so I'm not going to waste any of your time. Everything will be listed down below in the timestamps, but I think the first story we have to dive into is certainly, in my opinion, the most interesting and the scariest and the wildest story of the bunch this week, or for the last few days. And that is Embracer pretty much bought Planet Earth. Just randomly, last night I'm scrolling through Twitter and I see Wario64. I'll pull it up here on your screen. He just starts listing out this thread of all these acquisitions that Embracer made. And we'll go through them one by one and break them down briefly. But just suffice it to say, this is, I'm not saying it's up there with Microsoft buying Activision, but it's definitely just when you start scrolling down and seeing all the different companies, it's one of those ones that just kind of leaves you speechless. So I really, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Embracer, the first one that I saw here from Wario64 is Embracer Group enters into an agreement to acquire limited run games. And I'm not going to read over every single one here, but I'll read over some of the more interesting tidbits that I found from these press releases. So the most interesting detail I've found in this press release is coming from Embracer's CEO. It says, as an avid collector, I've admired limited runs collector's editions. They've built a strong brand that resonates with players. We see opportunity for limited run to further grow their business with the Carbon engine by bringing back classic games and extend their footprint geographically through synergies with other companies within Embracer Group. And says, Lars, what's his name? Lars Wingerfors, the CEO of Embracer Group. So when I first saw that Embracer was acquiring limited run, my initial instinct was, oh shit, a mega corporation acquiring, one of the very few companies out there who are still focused on physical games distribution. That immediately that left me kind of worried, just thinking about the negative influence that these huge megacorps can have in the physical marketplace. As I'm a huge physical games and media collector. I don't really want any of those, even though Limited Run has tons of issues, Special Reserve has tons of issues, like they all have their issues, but I don't want any of those shops closed down by, some mega corporation gobbling them up and shutting them down. But then when I read this part right here that we just went over, extend their footprint geographically through synergies with other companies within Embracer Groups by, bringing back classic games. That to me was like a little bit of a sigh of relief, because when you take the tinfoil cap off and you start looking at it through a practical business lens, it's like, oh, okay, what they're going to try to do here is get out physical editions of the Deus Ex Remastered collection, or they're going to get out physical editions through Limited Run with the Tomb Raider PS1, physical editions. Because Embracer's already talked about, wanting to bring back those classic titles, remaster those classic titles, bring back, Legacy of Kain, and bring back The Thief, or just so many others that they have in their catalog. Now they could even, it's probably to the point now where a remaster of Saints Row 1 and 2 would be probably a wise business move. And you see what they're doing with Destroy All Humans 1 and 2. They're remastering, or I think they're remaking the first Gothic game by Piranha Bytes. So they do have, they're already setting an example for what they're looking to do with this business model. And then when I started thinking about that aspect of it and kind of, once again, taking the tinfoil hat off, I was like, okay, so what they're probably trying to do here is to, Limited Run already has set this precedent and has a good business model with distributing these collector's editions and, Limited Run physical games to people. They're probably going to use that arm to get out some of this huge list of classic titles that Embracer now owns. They'll use Limited Run to make some of those business moves. And when you start thinking about it that way, it does make a lot more sense. And the next acquisition in this thread here is Embracer acquiring Singtrix. And Singtrix was the first company to patent the core technology behind the Guitar Hero franchise. So makes you wonder, maybe they're trying to think of a new way to, with how everyone is constantly online and where we're all synced up together. Is there going to be some new innovative process that they can develop to bring back some type of rock band game, to have like a, maybe a free to play online rock band style of experience, or, with like as latency is improving and a lot of the barriers that were there in previous generations to incorporate like a fully online model for these games. A lot of those barriers are starting to go away with modern technology. So maybe they have some new interesting idea of bringing back a rock band, bringing back a Guitar Hero style of game through, Singtrix's different innovative ideas or what have you. And here is the biggest one. Embracer Group acquiring IP rights to Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit literary works by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is just batshit crazy, man. It's batshit crazy. Embracer now owns the rights to anything and everything Lord of the Rings related. Break it down here a little bit. Embracer has entered into an agreement to acquire Middle-earth Enterprises, a division of the Sal Zayanits company, which owns a vast intellectual property catalog and worldwide rights to motion pictures, video games, board games, merchandising, theme parks, and stage productions relating to the iconic fantasy literary works The Lord of the Rings trilogy and The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, as well as matching rights in the other Middle-earth related literary works authorized by Tolkien Estate and HarperCollins, which have yet to be explored. I mean, this is the one right here where you're just kind of left speechless. This is the one where it's just like, I don't know. I don't know how this even came about. This is a huge, huge deal. Like I said, maybe not on the level of Microsoft acquiring Activision, but I would say this is definitely somewhere in that range of a Microsoft Bethesda acquisition. I mean, Lord of the Rings it's huge. It's so huge. And now with Embracer, they've expanded into a totally new territory. And from the perspective of a video game fan, this is somewhat interesting. Like they do have so many developers on their, so many developers that they own and so many developers that could create a really interesting kind of Lord of the Rings style of game. You're looking at, Eidos Montreal and having a Lord of the Rings first person kind of immersive sim RPG. Like there's so many different possibilities. You look at something like Piranha Bytes and just looking at Elix in general, and you can definitely see how obviously that's a more Euro jank style of gameplay experience, and you would probably want to polish that up a bit before, introducing the Lord of the Rings license to a Piranha Bytes, but maybe a smaller scale AA, Lord of the Rings game. I think that could be pretty damn cool. You obviously have to look at something like Crystal Dynamics, what they've done with the third-person action-adventure style of experiences with the likes of a Tomb Raider, but also looking at what they did with the Avengers and having the multiple different characters that you can swap in and out of and have a more multiplayer-focused experience that's not, attached to Square Enix, and they can have a little bit more free reign to create something more unique that's not just as, I hate using the cliche, but as cash grabby as the Avengers was. And you can say what you will about Embracer and their impact on the industry, but one thing you have to give them credit for so far, at the very least, is giving their developers, a decent amount of freedom to create things that they want to create and things that they are passionate about making. This is really one of the more interesting tidbits as well. Embracer has entered into an agreement to acquire another company within PC console gaming that for commercial reasons is not disclosed today. The purchase price for this undisclosed acquisition is in the range of being among either third or fourth largest of the transactions. And that gets me thinking, like, is there a potential world where Embracer acquires Monolith to have them focusing on Lord of the Rings, getting back into that Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor style experience, and having them, focusing on a Lord of the Rings game? And obviously that's just total speculation, but it's truly crazy. The next one here is Embracer Group acquires Tuxedo Labs. Tuxedo Labs is the developer that's working on that Teardown game that's very much based on, physics and kind of destructibility, and having all of these different environments that you're interacting with in this game world being open to any sort of destruction that you can think of, running cars through buildings, blowing shit up. Like in this breakdown here, it says Tuxedo Labs has created revolutionary technology that opens up vast possibilities for emergent gameplay and user-created content. Their hit title Teardown has the potential to become the standard-bearing platform for physics simulation in games. Many of us at Saber and our subsidiary 3D Realms have worked with Dennis since the mid-2000s. We are super excited to welcome Dennis, their CEO Marcus Dawson, and the rest of Tuxedo Labs team into the Embracer family. So to me, this seems to be more of a technology and knowledge acquisition more than anything else. It seems like Embracer would like to have that information on how to make a game like that, how to make such a kind of interactive or reactive world that is really truly responding to like all the mayhem you are causing inside it, and then to kind of use those assets and share them around to the different developers under your umbrella. I mean, I think this is a very wise, smaller scale but very wise acquisition. So they also acquired Tripwire Interactive, who you will know from Maneater. And this is the one here that, like, just personally, when I saw this, I was pretty damn excited for, because I would love to see a more, not necessarily AAA, but a higher budget AA Maneater 2. I thought Maneater 1 was really solid. It definitely had its technical problems, and it had issues for sure, like horrible camera issues. But I think the template there is solid, and then the core idea there is really cool of being able to play in this kind of open world RPG shark style of game, and having Embracer throw some extra dollar bills at Tripwire to get them, the money they need to really execute on this vision. That could be pretty damn sick. I would love to see a Maneater 2, a higher budget Maneater 2. And then they also announced that they are forming a new company called Embracer Free Mode, an operative group comprised of certain gaming and entertainment companies owned by Embracer. Free Mode is led by Lee Guinchard, a 30-year gaming veteran and entrepreneur. Free Mode provides a global strategic, operational, and financial support ecosystem for its collective of small to mid-sized companies to achieve operational efficiency and effectively grow their business to fulfill their long-term goals. In addition, Free Mode will expand its operating activities in the retro, classic, and heritage gaming category, as well as investing in iconic gaming and entertainment properties. So Embracer's really going full in on this idea of preserving gaming history, and seeming to really have a passion or some sort of connection or just a good business plan for physical media in the game space. And like I said, I'm always weary of huge corporations. I think anyone who is, broke or doesn't come from money should always be weary of these huge corporations, just coming along and becoming these new behemoths in the Amazon, in the Apple. We have enough of those. So anytime you see a huge list of any company acquiring 10 different damn businesses in one night, it's like, it's jarring, right? It's one of those jaw-dropping, hard to really grasp style of moments, especially in the games industry, which you don't really see a lot of this on this level too often. Yeah, you see what Microsoft does on a somewhat regular basis, but that's usually them acquiring one company. They'll wait a little bit, acquire another company. Like this was just a lot to wrap your head around all at once. But yeah, that was last night for Embracer. They went all out, and obviously these deals have been in the works for a long time. They just announced it, but it was a lot hitting you all at once. But I'm interested to see what's their connection here to the physical games market. Are they trying to go above and beyond to preserve this? Like, I'm so passionate about video game preservation and keeping these games alive. Like, they have so many under their umbrella, so many classic titles that I'd love to see them work on making sure that these games are preserved for generations to come. So if they have like a real interest in doing that, and that's why they're investing so heavily in these, kind of classic games oriented businesses, then hell yeah, dude. Hats off to you. So this next story I'm pulling from Tom Henderson over on Twitter. It says, last night, Dead Island 2 leaked on Amazon with an early listing. Release date is apparently February 3rd, 2023. So as you guys know, Dead Island has been, I would say, in development hell for quite some time. But this is promising. February 3rd, 2023, that's right around the corner. And people are beginning to speculate, maybe we're going to see Dead Island 2 pop up at a Gamescom. And yeah, I love that idea. There's some images here of Dead Island 2, and it looks pretty damn good. Like, just the different character models and shit look really solid. There's this guy with a black t-shirt and a chain, and it's a very like up close image, and you can see like a lot of good detail in the character work. The weapon with like this electric bolt, this electric charge, like it looks pretty damn solid from what we're seeing. We don't know how much of this is in-game screenshots here, but definitely some good artwork, and at least two of these images do look to be like in-game moments. So I think this is a real good sign here, man. So yeah, man, this is just a feel-good story. It's rare that you see a game that was announced, almost a decade ago ever pop back up and resurface. Usually when games are delayed for that long, or and you don't hear anything, they're announced, I think it was announced in like 2013 or so, and we haven't heard anything since then, really. Like, it's rare that we're going to ever actually get that game. And yeah, this is just it's a feel good story, and it's another one under the Embracer umbrella, with this being a Deep Silver game. So who knows? Maybe Embracer got in there and threw some money at the problems and just found a way to, iron out some of the issues that they were having over there. So I love this. I'm really happy to hear that it, allegedly right now, this is not confirmed as of yet, but hopefully we see this pop up at Gamescom. I think that'd be a good trailer to have pop up at Gamescom with a February release date. I think that would really, kind of uplift the spirits of the gaming community, because right now it's just delay after delay after delay. So to have like a feel good announcement pop up here where it's like, we definitely wasn't expecting to see Dead Island 2 probably ever again for most people, but definitely weren't expecting to see it pop up and have a, February 2023 release date attached to it. And I'm assuming with these screenshots, we'll probably see a good bit of gameplay. The next story I want to dive into is one of utter heartbreak, and that is that a Iron Man game was in the works over at Avalanche. This was all broke on MinMax's YouTube channel. Highly recommend checking out MinMax, one of my favorite podcasts in the business. But Christopher Sundberg, co-founder of Avalanche and founder of new studio Liquid Sword, joined MinMax's Ben Hansen for an interview where he revealed Avalanche had an Iron Man game in development before Marvel and Disney canceled it in 2012. Real heartbreaker. If you guys know Avalanche, they are the studio that created Just Cause, so they definitely have a knack for that style of gameplay that you could see in an Iron Man game, the very, very destructible open world sandboxes. And they were talking about that in the interview of like trying to figure out a way to have these big destructible set pieces for Iron Man to like blast people through the walls and have that kind of open world Avalanche destructibility, while also being able to kind of get Iron Man up and running and zipping across this open world in just a moment's notice. Like, man, the true potential here, it's a heartbreaker. This is a heartbreaker to learn here. And he was just saying, they were given so many unreasonable deadlines and just different stipulations that were trying to be implemented from, the higher ups at Disney to get this game out on a quicker, get this game out quicker and put more staff in place to work on the game. And he's like, well, when we finish this game, like, we have to still find a job for this staff, and we're not going to be working on another Iron Man game that we can just put these people on. Like, how are we going to continue to, pay these people and find different jobs for them? It sounded like a real mess, and that's unfortunate for sure, just given the fact that you see Marvel Spider-Man from Insomniac come out 2018, and this was being worked on well before that. And like, I think when you look at Insomniac now, you're looking at a team that is very much in that upper echelons of Naughty Dog, of FromSoft, of just like the Rockstar, the greatest game makers on the planet. I think that's how pretty much everyone perceives Insomniac at this point. And I don't think it was until we saw Insomniac Spider-Man in 2018, until that huge shift really happened and people began appreciating this studio on a different level. And it just sucks when you hear a story like this, because everybody needs that one big breakout title. FromSoft had Elden Ring, and Rockstar obviously in 2001, I believe, was it 2000? Yeah, 2001 had GTA 3. And just Naughty Dog with, you can either go to Uncharted or The Last of Us. I'd probably say The Last of Us being like the big breakout for them that took them to like a different level of critical reception. But regardless, like, all these studios have that one big breakout title that can catapult them to the next stratosphere. And grant them new possibilities and getting to work on brand new games and getting a bigger budget and like all, working with different publishing arms. And it's just unfortunate when you hear a story like this, because I do think, despite me never really getting into Just Cause, I enjoy those games and the nature of those games. Like I said, the open sandbox, totally destructible environments. Like, that shit is really cool to play around in. I was just never captivated by the character or never got into a storyline enough to stick through one of those games. But put an Iron Man skin on it, absolutely, I'd be down to check that out. And I'm still watching through the full interview on MinMax, but I got to a point where they were talking about Avalanche had like this canceled steampunk, almost Indiana Jones inspired title, and they also had like a fantasy sort of open world Just Cause like game that was canceled. So Avalanche has definitely been through the ringer within the last decade or so. I mean, they do have huge hits on their hands, like the Way of the Hunters game or whatever, and obviously Just Cause. But yeah, man, it real good interview. Would highly recommend you going and checking it out. I'll link it in the description. All right, and the last story I want to talk to you guys about is it appears that Death Stranding is going to be dropping on Game Pass PC, as the official Game Pass PC Twitter account has changed their profile picture to what it looks to be a Death Stranding image. And they have been like constantly updating this image, their profile picture image, on Twitter over the last few days. I'll pull up what they have right now, and I'll pull up what they had a couple days ago, but it definitely seems to be that we're going to be getting Death Stranding on Game Pass PC sometime really soon here. And then that also makes you think about the tweet that Kojima had, and this is going to be a heartbreaker. if we see Death Stranding pop up at Gamescom and it's just a Death Stranding announced to be coming to Game Pass, and that's what all the speculation and hype was over, whenever we saw that Kojima tweet where it showed that he was in the editing booth, that he was working on something, and if we were all getting hyped up over seeing Overdose pop up potentially at Gamescom, but we just get a new Death Stranding trailer, that'll be pretty damn disappointing. But yeah, 505 published the PC version and of Death Stranding, and Sony published the console version. So I'm guessing that's how the wiggle room was found there for Death Stranding to be available to come to Game Pass PC. I'm assuming it won't come to console, the console version of Game Pass. But anyone on Game Pass PC who hasn't played Death Stranding and, is looking to dive in, I think this will probably be a good way to dive in. Not a game I personally enjoyed really much at all. I do appreciate it. I do respect it. But, yeah, definitely this is a good addition to Game Pass. I just pray to God that this isn't the trailer we see at Gamescom, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be the trailer we see at Gamescom. Kojima, throwing out a nice little tweet for us to get hyped up about him editing something, him being in the editing booth and presumably editing a trailer, and it's going to be another damn Death Stranding trailer. I want to see Overdose so bad. Oh shit, breaking news. Well, not breaking news, this was a few hours ago, but I have not seen this yet. This is coming from Star Wars stuff. It says the KOTOR remake is still alive. Embracer, parent company of developer Aspyr, has revealed that one of its AAA projects, signs point towards KOTOR, has transitioned to another studio within the group. And they pulled that from Eurogamer. Holy shit, man. Okay, that is definitely a good sign. I think everybody, whenever KOTOR the remake was announced, and it was announced to be coming to us from Aspyr being the main developer on the game, I think everyone was pretty skeptical immediately with Aspyr being a port studio. But I know that there was talks before about Saber taking over KOTOR. And with this saying it's transitioned to another studio within Embracer's group, that would make me think that Saber Interactive is going to be the new team working on KOTOR, which Saber is definitely talented. They got that Witcher 3, port running on the Switch, which is technically just very, very impressive to get the Witcher 3 running in a somewhat functional state on the Switch. It's totally impressive. But once again, this is kind of a similar thing that worries me, where these aren't studios who have ever worked on $100+ million huge titles as the main sole developer. And when KOTOR got delayed, like, I had kind of pie in the sky hopes of maybe Eidos Montreal coming over and be like, hey, we got this. We'll handle this. We'll get this out there. And I just don't know if rumors are to be believed about KOTOR and the state that it was in. And when Jason Schreier was reporting on how they had that trailer lined up, ready to go, they sent it over to Sony, they sent it over to Lucas, and the response was just like, absolutely not, then that makes you think that this game is not in a good spot right now, and that it's going to need a lot more time in development and very talented, experienced developers to come along and save this project. And I don't know, I hope that Saber is that team, but I was really hoping that maybe, maybe it would be Eidos, and maybe it still will be Eidos. They're just saying that it's someone internally at Embracer, and that could be either or. Okay, I just pulled up a tweet from Mr. Matty Plays. It says, it looks like KOTOR Remake is heading to Saber Interactive. Embracer is saying no delays are expected. I wonder if that means there is a chance of gameplay at the Disney Marvel's Game Showcase. And then Jason Schreier quote tweeted it and said, if you believe that an entire ass video game can just seamlessly switch developers without any delays, I've got a Wookiee to sell you. And so, yeah, okay, it is looking like it's heading to Saber, which slightly unfortunate news there, but yeah, I would tend to believe once again that we're probably, like they were saying, they were trying to hit 2024, and a lot of the people internally were like, yeah, this is looking like more of a 2025-ish, 2026-ish title. So I would expect definitely a significant delay, just even from the reception from that initial trailer. If that wasn't in any way, shape, or form appealing to Sony or Lucas, I would expect a lot of changes had to be made to what they were already working on. And now with a brand new team coming in, trying to tinker with things and get it up and running and polished enough to get out the door at some point, I would assume we probably will see a significant delay on this if it ever releases at all. But yeah, that is definitely news I was not expecting. I would say before seeing that, I was thinking that there's no chance we're ever going to see the KOTOR remake released, period. So I'm at least, after seeing that, a little bit more optimistic that we do get the game at some point. But that's the news for today. I appreciate you all for tuning in, and yeah, man, let me know your comments on some of these different topics, any of them that are, you know, of interest to you at all. Would love to hear from you in the comments, and yeah, I will chat with you in a video soon. So see you guys soon. Stay well, stay safe, be a good human, and yeah, I don't know. See you guys soon. Appreciate you for watching. Goodbye.